Hi everyone, and welcome to our video here on Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. We are on lesson number 4, Connecting Always Requires Energy. You should have your worksheets, something to write with so you can fill in some blanks here. Hopefully you have watched the previous video with our friend Dr. John Maxwell, where he went over a wonderful 8-9 minute story about how he learned to connect with people after 25 years of being away from those same people. And there was about 7 things you should have filled in. If you didn't get those filled in, please go back and listen to that video, or you can see myself or email me and we'll give you those answers. But if you did see the video, and hopefully you did, hopefully you got a good laugh out of it, because it was definitely a funny video. But boy, I gotta tell you that after listening to that video and that long story, of how John connected with those people after being absent, wow is all I have to say. How much energy did he put in to connecting with those people? Here's what I know, that no matter what people are your favorite communicators, at the top of your notes there was a time for you where you could think of 3 different communicators that you enjoy watching and listening to. If you haven't done that, think of a couple, but you could do that on your time there. But I guarantee you that no matter who these people are, they're going to have one thing in common, and most likely the thing that they're going to have in common is that they put a lot of energy into their communication and connecting with other people. Guaranteed, they're putting energy into it. You know, you can probably take this statement to the bank. If it may not take a lot of energy to say something verbally, but I guarantee you it takes a lot of energy to move someone. So if your goal and your connection with people, whether it's with one individual person or a group of people, is to touch and move and inspire these people into a certain place, guaranteed it's going to take a lot of energy. Just look at what John Maxwell just shared with us on this previous video, right? How much energy did he put in to that connection? We're going to go ahead and pick up in your notes here, following John's 7 things that you listed in the notes there. The next section is the 4 unpardonable sins of a communicator. We'll go through these really fast. Number 1, being unprepared. That is just unpardonable. If you're unprepared when you walk in, ready to communicate, it's going to be shown. They're going to notice. Number 2, being uncommitted. Number 3, being uninteresting. And lastly, number 4, being uncomfortable. So unprepared, uncommitted, uninteresting, and uncomfortable. 3 of these things here, 3, require effort. They require energy. So you can look back at these and decide and figure out which ones are the ones that you think are the ones that require energy. Maybe put a check next to the ones that you think you need to get motivated on and moving to another level in your communication. But the idea out of this lesson is this is a practical one. There are 5 things we're going to look over here on what connecting with an individual requires energy-wise. So with the thought in mind that this is energy, let's go to number 1. Connecting requires initiative. You must go first. Plain and simple, you have to go first. John puts a story in here of a time when he visited and spoke at Walmart. He says, I've had the privilege of speaking a few times to the employees at Walmart, the company's headquarters in Arkansas. The first time I did so, I was taken on a tour of the facilities. I was so amazed to see the signs everywhere highlighting the values and the philosophy of the organization. On the first visit after I was done speaking, I took a notebook and jotted down the messages contained on the many of the signs. The one thing that left the greatest impression was the 10-foot rule. And Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, came up with this rule. The 10-foot rule simply says this, and this is what they have their employees repeat. From this day forward, I solemnly promise and declare that every time a customer comes within 10 feet of me, I will smile, look him in the eye, and greet him. Why is that so important? Because it's basically saying that person if they come in between that 10-foot space, it is the employee's responsibility to take initiative and greet that customer and see how they're doing. Malcolm Bain said, if you wait until you can do everything for everybody instead of something for somebody, you will end up not doing anything for anybody. And that is so true, isn't it? You know, let's not be the people that always wait upon those to come to us. Let's make sure we take the initiative. Let's go first. Let's have that energy about us that takes initiative to interact and connect with other people. Number 2, in your notes, connecting requires clarity. Being very clear on what must happen, or what your goal is, or what outcome you're looking for in that time together. You got to be prepared. I think that's in your notes. You have to be prepared. John Maxwell has a little checklist of when he meets with people, what he does to be prepared. Number 1, he says integrity. The question he asks is, did I do my best? Number 2, expectation. Did I please my sponsor? Of course, if you're in a group type of speaking engagement and someone sponsored you to come, did I please them? Did I meet their expectation? Number 3, relevance. Did I understand and relate to the audience? Whoever my audience was. Did I understand them? Did I relate to them? Next is value. My favorite, did I add value to people, or did I add value to that person that I spoke with? Next is application. Did I give people a game plan? Did I give them a way that they can take what I told them and actually use it and apply it to their life? And last is change. Did I make a difference? We have to be very clear on what must happen when we communicate and connect with another person or a group of people. Clarity is essential in your connecting with other people. Moving on to number 3, connecting requires patience. So people always tell me, hey David, you gotta slow down, man. Relax, slow down. A matter of fact, sometimes when I talk, I talk so much and I keep talking that sometimes it just doesn't listen. People stop listening to me because I don't slow down. I'm not patient. I just have a lot of energy. Thoreau said in your notes here that the man who goes alone can start the day, but he who travels with another must wait until the other is ready. I don't know a time in my life, and I don't know that you could answer this correctly either, that when you've had a one-on-one connection with somebody or with a group of people, where every single time, or even the majority of the time, you were on point with that person. You had the same energy level. You were in the same realm of thought and energy. You had a symbiotic thing going on here. You know, I can't say that honestly. Personally, I'm in a different space than the other person is. And for me to connect with that other person means that I need to slow down because I can't expect them to do it. I need to be patient. I need to slow down. It goes back into our last discussion where we talked about being in rapport with the other person. Be patient. Take a breath, slow down, and connect with that person. Funny how patience is energy, but yes it is, because if you had to think about it, being patient means that you're having the energy to apply that patience in your communication with others. Moving on to number 4, connecting requires selflessness. You have to give. You have to want to add value, and it's got to come from your heart. John put a letter in here from a friend that wrote him this, and this is really powerful, and the end is really powerful. I'm going to read it to you, so go ahead and follow along with me. His friend wrote this. He says, I thought about why you're so easy to listen to. Now, remember, he's telling this to John Maxwell. The idea especially intrigued me when I thought about the fact that it's true even when people know the stuff you're going to say. And it definitely goes beyond the entertainment value of just good storytelling. I think it all comes down to a communicator who is primarily a giver instead of a taker. Now, you're going to want to stop there and underline that, because that's the whole premise of this letter and really most of this conversation today in our number 4. It comes down into communication and connecting to a person who is a giver versus a taker. Moving on, he says the human spirit senses and feeds on a giving spirit, doesn't it? The spirit is actually renewed by a teacher with a giving spirit, and this is proven by the fact that when people hear what you have said many times over, they are still fulfilled. Your teaching is essentially giving, and people can receive all day from a giver, while they tire quickly of a taker. Think about what Jesus taught. Half the time, people didn't even know what he was talking about, but they listened attentively, didn't they? Jesus was giving. He was feeding them, not taking. It was at a spirit or a heart level. He wasn't just giving information. Here's how I think it works. If communicators teach out of need, insecurity, ego, or even responsibility, then they are not giving. The needy person wants praise, something the audience must give. The insecure person wants approval and acceptance, something the audience must give. The egotistical person wants to be lifted up, to be superior and just a little bit better than everyone else, something the audience must give. Even the person motivated by responsibility wants to be recognized as the faithful worker, to be seen as responsible, something the audience must bestow upon them. Many communicators teach in one of these taking modes all the time and are not aware of it. Then there's the giver, the person who teaches out of love, grace, and gratitude, compassion and passion, and simply the overflow of their heart. These are all of the giving models. In each of these models of the heart, the audience doesn't have to give anything, only receive. Then the teaching then becomes a gift. It fulfills and renews. This is you. That's why people can listen all day. As I've watched and learned from you, you teach 99% of the time in the giving modes. Only very rarely do you slip into ego mode, and in those rare moments I no longer feel like you are giving. You are taking. That can come off as, I am special and a little better than you. Only then, those very rare moments, other than those very rare moments, I can listen to you all day. You could almost do a whole lesson on the giving modes, right? Love, grace, gratitude, compassion, and the overflow of the heart, because that's where we want to be in our connecting. Jesus, what a great example of somebody who was so selfless, and how it didn't matter what he said. It didn't matter that they understood or that they didn't understand what he was saying. Jesus connected well, and they followed him because of that, and that's what made him a great leader. Connecting requires a selfless attitude. You have to be a person who is a giver in that relationship rather than a taker. And the last thing in your notes here, number 5, connecting requires stamina. You gotta recharge those batteries in your life. The batteries inside. Lauren Wolf in the Bible and Leadership said that leadership takes an almost bottomless supply of verbal energy. Working the phone, staying focused on your message, repeating the same mantra over and over until you can't stand the sound of your own voice. And then repeating it some more, because just when you start to become bored with the witless message, it's probably starting to seep into your organization. So, boy, doesn't it? It just takes energy and sucks the life out of you connecting with people, doesn't it? But to connect, you have to recharge those batteries to get that energy back. You gotta get the stamina back in your life. Here's a couple of things that John puts down here. Some of these work for me. You can probably take time and write a few things that you can recharge yourself in as well. I recharge myself by number 1, loving life. I love life. Don't you? You gotta love waking up and smelling the air, listening to the birds. You gotta love where you're at. Maybe it's not where you want to be, but where you're at is a gift from God. You gotta appreciate that and love that. Number two, I recharge myself by loving what I do. So many of us are in a position in our life that where what we do we just don't enjoy. So after the day of doing something we don't enjoy, we come home and we're expected to give to our families, to our children, but we just don't have the energy because all the life has been sucked out of us. So I'll encourage you that if you don't like what you do, find something that you do like and figure it out. Because I guarantee you, when you like what you do, when you love what you do, you're going to be recharged, you're going to have energy, you're going to have a smile on your face, and you're going to be connecting with people on a whole nother level. Number three, I recharge myself by spending time with my spouse, and this is essentially true for me. Some of us may not be married, maybe we're dating, it doesn't matter where you're at, but that's true for me. I love my wife, and she energizes me when I'm around her. I appreciate her so much. Number four is handing off draining work. If you can't delegate certain things that you're not good at, because how many of us are good at everything? Raise your hand. If you're good at everything, put your hand up. Because that's not me. I got to delegate certain things. Now, depending on your life and who you have around, you may not be able to delegate everything. But if you can delegate certain things to certain people, it's going to help you to have more energy in the things that make you great so that you can focus on those. Number five, I recharge myself by friendships, being in relationships with people. I love to be around people. You have to love being around your friends where you can kick back and relax, talk about the day, play golf, whatever it is that you do it with other people because that is going to help you energize yourself as well. Next, I recharge myself by being alone. You know, that's a time where you can spend time with yourself and pray and meditate and do whatever it is that you do. Pick up a favorite book. You know, some of us can't stand being alone, but we really, really need to be alone, don't we? Because that's a time when we can reflect on ourselves, reflect on our leadership, reflect on our day, reflect on our business. That's the time when we get a lot of the thought work done that helps us to get energized and move on to the next step. Next, number seven is exercise. You got to recharge the physical body, right? So recharge it by getting some exercise. And lastly, I'm a man of faith. I recharge myself by prayer and meditation. It's kind of like being alone, right? Prayer and meditation. So these are some of the things that you can do. Think of some things that work for you. This may be completely different for you, but I hope it's encouraged you. Because here's what I do know. If you don't have energy and you're lacking that physical and mental energy in your life, most likely you have to get it back by recharging yourself in one of these ways or find one that works for you. So the idea of today is that it takes energy to connect with people, doesn't it? It's a lot more than just a feeling. We need to be prepared. So these are some great practical ways that we can do that. And in our mastermind group coming up, we're going to discuss this more in depth. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I hope you've enjoyed listening to John on the video. Feel free to replay it, and we'll see you at the next group. Have a great day.